Welcome, everybody, to episode number 8 of Top Soccer Coach. Today, we have a special guest. His name is Shaun Green. We're talking about a guy who can do it all. He's been in the Division I NCAA game for decades. He's got over 270 career wins at the Division I level. He came over from Newcastle, England, to a college called Davis and Elkins College, who did very well this year, making, I believe it was the Final Four. Coach Green he is a true innovator in the game. And when I say innovator, people throw that term around loosely. We are not throwing around this term loosely when it comes to Shaun Green. He has been ahead of his time of all soccer coaching education since the day that I met him. Coach has come out with Soccer Made Easy. He had DVDs. He had complete animated sessions that you could watch for an entire season-long practice back in I think it was the mid-90s. And that's progressed to Soccer Coach TV. It's progressed to numerous websites that he has out. He's always one step ahead of everybody when it comes to soccer education. And for me personally, I was fortunate enough to play for Coach Green at Central Connecticut State and then go be an assistant coach under Coach Green at Central Connecticut State. And he's one of my biggest mentors when it comes to the game. And I appreciate everything that he's ever taught me. And so I want to turn it over to you, Coach, right now. And welcome you to the show, first of all.
Happy New Year, Marcus.
Thanks.
It's great to connect with you, And whenever we haven't spoken on video for a while, a couple of weeks, I think.
Yes.
Up from last night, But we normally talk regular now, but it's great to catch up with you again. And I hope you and your family had a great Christmas. And to the guests out there, to the people who are watching, the followers, subscribers, and fans of Soccer Coach TV and your incredible platforms, it's a great time, appropriate time to say thank you for all your support and all your loyalty that you've showed, both me and Marcus, with that coaching education material online.
Yeah, for sure. Coach, listen, when I think back to, everything that you've done, I wanted to go over just a little bit because a lot of the people on my YouTube channel obviously know who you are. And on your YouTube channel, though, I'm not sure everybody kind of knows the exact background of you. Can you tell me a little bit like how you came over how did you get to Davis and Elkins College in Virginia? And from there, when did you know that you really wanted to become a coach?
Well, my coaching passion was installed in me by several coaches back in England. And when I was very young, I was very fortunate to have a fantastic high school coach, a guy called Stan Nixon. Stan really inspired me to become a coach. And don't you think it's like that in most professions? Most teachers become teachers because they had great teachers who taught them and inspired them. And you think, man, as a job, I wouldn't mind being like this guy or being like this woman. I think it'd be fun to do. It'd be something I'd be interested in. And that's how I felt because I had some great mentors at a young age and very special coaches. And still to this day, Stan Nixon, he was at Middlesbrough, I think, for 15 years as the academy coach there and the reserves. And then he moved to Newcastle United, and he was there for 16 years at Newcastle United. And but he was such a marvelous coach. If anybody knew Stan and watched Stan coach and then watched me coach, you would instantly see the influences of Stan. I carry a big part of Stan with me every time I walk onto the field.
And Great, a big blue-collar working class type of atmosphere club and where you grew up?
Yeah, it's Wallsend Boys Club, arguably the best academy, the best soccer club in the country, in England. Produced, when I was there at Wallsend Boys Club, the year younger than me, and they frequently played in our team that played up in age group, was Steve Bruce, former manager of Newcastle United. And I was friends with Steve when I was there. Peter Beardsley, played for England in the World Cup. You had Alan Shearer play from that club, and go on and on and on. And when I turned 18, I was really interested in coaching. I did my English coaching license. I was actually the youngest coach in the country to get a coaching license at the time because you had to be 18 to get one. and I just turned 18. It was basically the day after my birthday that I did the course and successfully passed my English coaching license. And a guy called Peter Kirkley and Sid Sharp, who ran the Wallsend Boys Club, who are famous coaches up in the northeast of England, great mentors, great people. They allowed me, while I was the captain of the under-18 team, they allowed me to be the coach of the under-16 team.
Wow.
So at 18 years of age, I got first-hand experience of coaching some of the best players. I think we had about 15 players in the team at the under-16 level. Of those 15 players, we had 2 England internationals in the team and about 8 or 9 kids who had signed apprenticeship contracts to play pro soccer.
Wow.
So it was a great experience for me. And then I actually was working at the time in mechanical engineering. I did a degree in engineering, building ships.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I wasn't good enough. And I was just at that level a bit lower, so I went into non-league football, playing with ex-pros. I was an 18-year-old playing for North Shields. And it was a great experience. Everybody in that squad was a pro apart from me and my friend, you know. I'd been playing in the English First Division, Second Division, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Sunderland. And so at 19, I got offered an opportunity to work at a soccer camp for Brown University.
Okay.
Head coach was Cliff Stevenson, who was a legend in college soccer. And I just noticed that you put out a soccer practice plan.
Yeah, planner.
Well, Cliff Stevenson, before the internet was available, Cliff Stevenson was the first guy to have a soccer record book where you actually write in the rosters, how many corner kicks, offsides. Have you ever seen that?
Of course.
Yeah, he invented that, Cliff Stevenson. He was an innovator at his time in terms of his training too. And unfortunately, he passed away last year. And he loved me at his camp, and then he offered me the job as an assistant coach at Brown when I was 19.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I got to be the head coach of the freshman team at Brown. They had a varsity, JV, and freshman team. So I assisted him with the varsity program, and I also was the head coach of the freshman team. What a great experience it was there.
I did not know that, Green.
Yeah, it was Cliff Stevenson who brought me to America, who I owe everything to.
So you were at Brown. So how did you get from Brown to Davis and Elkins?
Well, I was at the end of the season at Brown. I was looking for options. For me, coming from a working class town in Wallsend, northeast of England, working in the shipyard, to being an assistant coach at Brown, where you've got an unbelievable football stadium there. It's only used 6 times a year. It was just like the facilities they had. It just blew my mind. I knew I wanted to be part of this. And so I wrote out letters, and I was with a pro team for about a month, a team called New England T-Men on trial. I was trying out with them, and at the same time I was writing for scholarships. And I was offered a bunch of scholarships, and one of them was in West Virginia. So I went to West Virginia. Brigham Young offered me a full ride until I got the letter, and it said, you can't drink, party, you can't date girls. So I told the coach, look, I'll probably last about a week at the university. Then I was, 20 years old now, and I want to party a little bit. Totally wrong message. But I went to West Virginia on a full scholarship and enjoyed it. We had a nationally ranked team there. Every year we were there pretty much, and it was a great experience. And so 2 months before I graduated college, I was looking for a job. And I got an interview at Central Connecticut State University. And I went there and I did a good interview, and they offered me the job. And I accepted the job as the head coach. I was the youngest head coach in the country, I think 24 years of age. And some of the players were the same age as me. Halfway, a couple of weeks after I accepted it, I figured, because it was part-time back then, Marcus, the salary was $2,000.
No.
Yeah. And but I wanted to be the head coach. I didn't want to be an assistant. I had offers to be assistants at the schools, but I wanted to be. I had my own ideas. I was going to win a national championship within 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? That's how you feel when you beat anybody. But after 2 weeks, I thought about it. I said, man, I can't do it for $2,000. How am I going to live? So I called him back. Yeah, I called him back and I said, I'm sorry, I have to turn down the job. I can't do it for $2,000. And then the athletic director says, you know what, we'll give you $4,000. I said, okay, I'll see you in August. With the condition that if I did well the first year, they would make me full-time. And they did that. After the first year, we did well. Took a team that had only won one game that previous year, and we finished up 10-10, and half our schedule then was Division I teams too. And then I stayed there for 35 years. I was the head coach there for 35 years. I'm actually a professor. I went into that position as not just a soccer coach, but on a tenure track position as a university professor. And I was coaching back then, Marcus. And one of the things we talked about, what is the biggest differences between college soccer when I started and when it is now?
I was going to ask you that.
Joe Maroney was at that time, was the only full-time coach in college soccer in Division I in Connecticut. Yeah. Okay. Everybody else was part-time. I was the second full-time coach.
Oh my God.
In Connecticut when they made me full-time. I mean, even programs like Fairfield, they didn't hire a full-time coach for 5 or 6, 7 years after I got hired. But back then, a lot of the coaches who were coaching weren't full-time. They were part-time positions. And you had to forget about assistants, unless there might be 1 or 2 big-time schools. But back then, in 1985, you did not have a full-time assistant, let alone 2 or 3. They were volunteer or they got paid peanuts, And but I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the career. I feel really blessed to have been able to do something that I have passion for, that I love, and to be able to impact people in a positive way on the field. And so it's been a fantastic experience. And going back to where I started is that I owe everything to people like Sid Sharp and Peter Kirkley and Stan Nixon. And I'm sure Mr. Nickelback and Coach Stevenson, who guided me in that direction. I've said this before on podcasts, Marcus, and I know you feel the same way, and how important it is to young coaches that they ask me, how do I get to be a full-time coach? It's a tough journey, but biggest advice is you've got to have a great mentor. If you've got somebody in your life who's been down that road, who can help you get there and give you advice and maybe learn from their mistakes or the things that's worked from them, that's invaluable. Experience is invaluable. You can't buy it.
Greena, when you look back on it, like, how have you changed as a coach from when you started to now?
I think beginning my career, I wanted to be friends with my players. I was pretty much the same age. I made the big mistake of, hanging out and partying with some of the guys in my first year or two. I just wanted to be liked. I wanted to fit in. Your whole philosophy as a coach changes over your career. It should change. Either you evolve or you repeat. If you're not evolving as a coach, you're just going to repeat the same thing every single day. So you've got to try and evolve. But I've changed. I think that some life-changing events happened to me, and I don't know if I would have changed if they had not. One of them being when I died in 2006, and I had a massive heart attack and I flatlined, and I was clinically dead. And they had to put defibrillators on me, and eventually, after the 5th time, they got my heart beating again.
Jesus.
And
that's when they turned on the Newcastle game in the emergency room.
It is. People say you only live once, unless you're me. It certainly is something that impacts you, and it changed my coaching style somewhat, and certainly my philosophy on life. And I used to get hung up about a game. You lost a game, you'd be thinking about it for 3 days until the next game, until you can put it right, or you take it home with you and you get frustrated, or it was never enough. But after I had my heart attack, I looked at things very, very different. You value time very different if you go through that experience. If you die and then you come back, and you shouldn't be here. I've seen so many things that I shouldn't have seen. you know, kids' birthdays, celebrations, you know, parties. I've met people that I should never have met, and it becomes such a different experience. This is something that you might find surprising, Marcus. If somebody told me, now I was like 46 then or something like that. I'm 63 now, you know, and so I've been given a whole second life. And if somebody told me, if you could go through life healthy your entire life till you're 70, or go through life, have a heart attack, but there's a guarantee you will survive and you'll go through it, right? I'm not convinced I wouldn't accept the second one, because it makes you a totally different person when you've been there. You're so appreciative of everything. You value your time, you value the people around you in a whole different manner, which I think is very hard to have unless you've been through an experience like that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Greener, one of the things that I noticed about your coaching, even before your heart attack, though, was that you're and all top coaches are fiery competitors, and we do want to win. And you always had that to you, but you always had emotional control, and you were never the guy that ever lost emotional control. Did you have that the whole time during your coaching career? Like, because honestly, how many young coaches and even experienced coaches kind of lose it, and they can't. And I almost think that it's because their ego is so attached to winning that if they're not winning, they're kind of losing. They're emotionally, they can't keep it under control. How have you been able to do that? You know, for the whole time I've known you, you've been really good at that.
You know, I think that it's a perspective in which you look at. It's how you know, Bill Shankly said, what was his quote about winning? He says, football's more important than life. I can't remember exactly the quote. Do you remember that quote he had?
Yeah, he said, I believe it was, people think football's a matter of life and death, but it's much more than that.
Right. Well, he never had a heart attack and died and come back, right? Which is a big sort of bullshit. I mean, I'm a fan of Bill Shankly. I met Bill Shankly, you know, and spent 15 minutes with him. But from that perspective, where football becomes life and death for you, you know, more important than life and death, I think you got your priorities wrong. And I'm sure his wife probably would have agreed, you know. And most people who are so fanatical about a sport like that, listen, there's some give and take, right? You can't have it all. Yeah. Either you're putting everything into your job as a football manager or a coach, and if you do that, your kids suffer, your wife suffers, your relationship suffers, right? There's got to be a balance there. I decided that I wanted a balance in my life, and I wanted to do other things. I wanted to be happy. I didn't want to get so caught up in a loss. The sun's going to shine tomorrow, and you get beat 6-0 or you win 3-0. You know, the sun's going to shine again.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that bad. People want to make it dramatic, and some people, you know, there's people out there who they don't know any difference. They're incredibly intense people who put it all out on the pitch in terms of football managers, et cetera, and then you've got different managers who just sit back nice and calmly and watch the game, and regardless of the result of the score, you don't see any reaction from the calm and cool. I think it's whatever works for you, but I think your personal experiences outside of football play a big part into that too.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I always, you know, and I remember them talking about the NFL and saying, you know, you could work 8, 9, 10 hours a day, or you could work 17 hours a day. It's up to you, but it doesn't mean you're going to do any better. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much that we can do. And when you read Alex Ferguson's book, he was just obsessed, right? He was just talking about football nonstop, and I think, you know, that could be fine. That could be healthy if you're obsessed, but I think that as a coach, I can only speak for my own program. You know, there's only so many hours in the day that are really going to help you out. Mm-hmm. If I go home and still obsess about it and work on it from 5 to 11 at night, it doesn't necessarily mean my team's going to do any better. You know?
Well, Elon Musk, let's take him for an example. Jeff Bezos, right? Amazon. And they don't have 30 hours in a day.
Right.
They don't have more hours than you. That's not why they're successful, right? Every single person on this planet, 7.5 billion of us, all have 24 hours a day. And the art of living is, how do you want to spend that? That's yours to spend. For you, the value may be spending that time with Cameron, with your son, spending more time with him, and maybe not regretting it down the road that, hey, you put all your work into football and I should be spending more time with my relationship with my kids. Or, I want to have other interests. There's a lot of people, like play soccer, that love golf, or love hiking, whatever your interests are. And then you've got that breed of people they're just so consumed with it. That's their choice, and it's good for some people. For me, it's not. I like to keep a balance, and I've always, when I work hard, and when I'm not working, I like to do other things, And, you get to a point, Marcus. I think what you'll find, you're still a relatively young man, But when you start hitting your 60s, you don't do things because other people want you to do them. You don't go places if you don't like it, You start to really filter out. You start to decide, hey, I'm doing exactly what I want to do and what interests me.
Yeah.
Because, and it's not a bad policy, because when you reflect back and everything you do in life, you probably end up doing a lot of things that you don't want to do. We've been blessed because when we're out in our job, it's not work, right?
No.
But when you can, you go into retail stores, or you go, the people who are working in brick builders, people are making buildings on it. All these people are doing hard jobs, man. That's hard, That's really hard. When you are blessed to get a paycheck doing the things that you love, secret of life. If you can wake up in the morning, right, every morning, and go to sleep every night, and in between, do what you love, you've hit it. You've hit the lottery.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
A lot of people can't do that.
No, they can't. Greener, one of the things that I find interesting about you is that you're good at every single level of the game. So you could give you a group of 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5 years old, and then he can give you a group of 50-year-olds, and you're good at every level. Do you think it's important for coaches to understand and spend time understanding how to coach every level, and like, how did that come about for you?
Well, I was heavily involved in camps. I had a big soccer camp business.
Yes.
When I was at college, early on, the first 16 years. And I had about camps in about 110 cities, and they're all young kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I had to get right into the trenches and entertain these kids, coach these kids. So it was a lot of work and a lot of experience. I like to have fun anyway. When I get on the field, my objective is that if I'm not having fun, what am I doing there? We talked a little bit about this last night, and I think we're going to get into a little bit deeper. But why are we doing this? Why are we playing football? Why are we playing soccer? Why are we coaching it? Why are we dedicating our entire lives to kicking a piece of leather around the grass and sticking it through sticks? Why are we doing that? What's the ultimate purpose of it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think we'll get into that a little bit later. But it's listen. People say Klopp is a phenomenal coach. Pepe's an unbelievable coach. Jose Mourinho is an unbelievable coach. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the Premier League, right? But take him downtown and coach the rec 6-year-olds, he might be the worst coach in the world, right?
Probably.
So for me, that coach who's good at coaching those young kids, which is probably a harder level to coach at, more frustrating for sure, I bet. And they're a great coach too. They're phenomenal coaches. Klopp couldn't do that.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. They didn't have the personality to do that stuff. I think that for me, it was experience. I had to do it because it was a business for me. So I got in there. But I love kids. I love having fun with kids. My personality is, I'm always telling jokes. I'm always having fun. I've always looked outside of football at different sports and businesses to think, what are they doing in team building? What are they doing that's fun to develop technique, what sports, and I'll take something from here, I'll take something from there, and I'll try and modify it for my needs. So, It is an art. Not many coaches are as effective at coaching 6-year-olds as they are 26-year-olds.
I mean, the reality is, Greener, that the drop off in youth soccer, after 13 years old, after 12 years old, is huge. And for me, the number one reason you're getting all these kids leaving sport is because it's exactly what you're saying. It's not fun. It's got to be fun. Like when you get out of your parents drop you off at the field, that has to instantly be a good time, or else why are you going to do it? It makes no sense.
And for me, I want to be fun because I want to enjoy it myself.
Yes.
I don't want to take it too serious.
Right.
Again, if you fell over tomorrow and had a heart attack, man, you're not thinking about, man, that offside goal, or how do I set up my 5-man wall and this and that. There's a lot more things that are more important than that, So if you can't have fun in your job, if you can't have fun with the kids, what's the point? Go and do something else. Go fishing. Go and do something else. Make it fun. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so there's two things in this message for me. One is that I think that you could do something really well and try to become really good and still have fun at it. Like these two things don't have to be separate. You could have a great time while you're chasing your dreams to be the highest level soccer player you can be. That's great. And it's the same thing I tell the kids at school. I know everyone wants to be a pro, but you could be the best student in the world and get a great degree at the same time. Like these things don't have to be mutually exclusive. And I think that's for me, that's a really, really important thing. And youth soccer parents, this is our business, right? So we see some of the other sides with the parents, and that it's a little tough sometimes when you see what the parents want compared to what the kids want.
Yeah. Well, kid players are often one level lower than they think they are, and the 2 levels lower than their parents think they are.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. I got 3 boys.
That is funny. Yeah.
It's true though. And it's going to be like that in anything. I mean, we know that we're coaching.
Well, what is the coach? 4 levels lower that parents think?
Hey, let me tell you a quick story before I forget about it.
Yeah.
So, that I went on a Buddhist meditation retreat.
Yes.
Okay, for 10 days this past summer, right? I have some really great neighbors next door. They're from Poland.
Yeah.
Okay? And the husband barely speaks English. Super guy. So a few weeks back, we're over there and we're drinking vodka. They had a couple of their friends over, and we're outside drinking vodka. And somebody said, "How'd your summer go?" And I was telling him about. I was trying to explain to him that I went away for 10 days to learn how to meditate, right? And I told him, I said, "Look, I tried to meditate during COVID, watching YouTube, but I wasn't very good at it, the technique. And a lot of times I'd fall asleep, right? During that meditation. And I says, I really wanted to learn how to meditate because I wanted to teach my kids, teach my athletes, teach my soccer players how to meditate, but also for me, to make me feel good, And he was making this Polish sausage, right? It's great. He's got a steamer outside.
Kielbasa.
And we've got a forest right outside my door here.
Yeah.
And
I'm Polish, Greener. I'm Polish.
Yeah. And I told him, I says, look, one day grab some of the sausage. Grab the sausage. I says, we'll go to the forest. We'll find a quiet spot and we'll meditate together, right? And, this whole time he's staring at me like weird as hell, right? Yeah. No reaction. Mm-hmm. So then, after I finish my vodka, then I leave. Listen, later on, I find out he thought, instead of me sitting meditating, he thought I was going on a 10-day masturbation retreat. He thought I went there for 10 days to learn how to masturbate. You should. He was so serious, man. He was looking at me like I was on a different planet. I'm telling you, grab your sausage and we'll go in the woods and I'll teach you how to masturbate, And here's me, and here's me, like, I wasn't very good at masturbating during COVID, so I wanted to go and learn how to. It was afterwards we laughed our heads off, man. He was like, "That's
Man,
it. You got to speak the language."
listen, you should have called me. I could have interpreted a little bit for you.
Do you speak Polish?
Very little, but probably enough to tell him what you were saying. But that is really, really funny. Greener, I want to talk to you a little bit about. I know that you have some rules that you've been working on, and I want to ask you two things. One is about your rules, and the other thing I want to ask you about over the years you had some really successful teams. I mean, you took one team to the Sweet 16, beating Harvard and Tulsa. Like, what are your observations on teams that you've had that have won and been really successful compared to some teams that haven't been as successful? Just some general observations between the two, and also tell me a little bit about the rules you've been working on.
Okay, that's really interesting because I've always felt to a certain degree, give me good players and I'll be a good coach. Give me bad players and I'll be a bad coach. And that's a very broad definition, right? Or you can't make a chocolate cake with 3 M&Ms.
No.
Right? And we've had this discussion before. I mean, listen, I don't know anybody on this planet who is more tactically astute than you, Marcus. Right? No, I'm serious. I mean, you're one of the best tacticians on this planet in football at any level, international, Premier League. You'd hold up the incredible amount of knowledge in that area. Now, if I had 11 players better than you, right, and we played, and I didn't talk about tactics once, who would win?
I mean, it depends. It depends how good your players are. You got Messi and Ronaldo. You don't have to tell them anything.
I think, in the past, I think whenever I have good players and I've recruited well and we've had scholarship money, it's always been directly see the results, okay?
For sure.
You need a tremendous amount of resources. And, I'm starting to write a book on this stuff about losing, okay? And but if you've got resources and you're a better recruiter and you can bring in players, that's going to win you games for sure. And you'll see that there'll be spikes in coaches' performances and career records when they get divorced. Normally, right, their records go down. Right, when they start to have kids, you'll see it. When you've had a baby, the record that season or the season after will go down. They've done studies on that, not just in soccer, but in different sports. There are spikes and valleys in everybody's career. But let's not kid around. I mean, to be consistently successful, you've got to turn your life over to that sport. And you've got to have the resources to be able to, bring in the type of players and coaching staff that you need to be playing at the highest level. Let's look at Newcastle United. In 10 years from now, they could be unrivaled. They're going to have every resource in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Greener, put Guardiola on Wigan Athletic with no resources.
Yeah.
He's not going to win.
Yeah. So I would say to answer your question, to your point, is that, we had seasons where we won and barely had nothing, but I would say consistently when we did win, we did have the resources and the money to be able to travel to recruit players and to fly to different countries and to assess players. As the seasons went on, those resources were never there. You were signing players on 4-year scholarships, watching on a half-an-hour video. It's ridiculous. You just don't have the funds to do the things. And then you got the big clubs who do. I mean, we think about Division 1, Marcus. It was supposed to be all in the same league, Division 1, but it's almost like an amateur club being in the Premier League compared to the resources that somebody like, say, Georgetown or Stanford's going to have, or any of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, just look at UConn's new facility right now. I mean, it's
like a
crazy.
It's a professional setting, and so there's a lot of variables in that. In terms of you can have good players and lose. I mean,
Even the cost of the school, people don't realize is something as well. I mean, you're over at a school that costs $60,000 compared to a school that costs 20. It's a big difference right there.
yeah.
People don't understand college soccer too, with the academics of each institution, and there's a lot that goes on, and it's not.
We can do a whole show on college soccer. I'd love to do it sometime, and a little bit different from you, and the fact that as I started to come near my final years of my college career, 36 years, I did it. I've done it. I got the T-shirt. Did a lot of things in college soccer, but I started to feel that it was getting overpopulated with international players, and I think that we should have pumped on the brakes a little bit at the college level in this country, and that's a genuine diagnosis of, because, and it's not. I'm not blaming the college coaches who are recruiting international players like yourself and me. I recruit more international players than you over my career.
Yeah.
But my point was this: is that okay? If we're part of the development in this country, the United Coaches Association, the USSF, and all the college coaches and academy coaches, if we're part of the development in this country, we're not even developing players who are good enough to get full rides or scholarships at the college level, let alone pros. Why are your best American coaches, their first choice is to sign somebody from Brazil or from Germany or from Sweden or Scandinavia? If we were producing the top talent, there wouldn't be a need for that. I think that's an elephant in the room. I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. It might not change. This will be a huge, massive amount of international players playing at the college level, but the question's got to be asked: why? Why aren't our American kids? Those are the ones who everybody's fighting over in abundance. If we want to take the American soccer to a whole different level.
Long conversation for sure. It goes into street soccer and environments and all this kind of stuff as well. Coach, one of the things that I think is really interesting that you're pursuing and has always been really good at is outside of the X's and O's, our job as a coach extending into that team building and that relationship. Because the reality is we have to be good at creating team cultures, and part of creating the team culture is your team building. And I know you've been doing a lot of work on that. Can you share with us a little bit of your thoughts on the team building and exactly kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, actually, in a few months I'll be launching a brand new website, and it's totally focuses on team building. It's a group dynamics. What are the kind of things that you can do as a coach, whether you're a new coach or an experienced coach, in terms of uniting your team and some of the games and exercises and basically the DNA of team building. And so one of the things that I was going to share with you here is that, we talked about this last night, Marcus, I am talking about, as I said before, what's the reason we do what we do? And I'm talking about a higher picture, a bigger picture. And why do we play football? And we say, well, we play football because, hey, it's a way out in the streets, right? Some poor kid wants to be a pro, right? Or it's street soccer. Why do the kids play street soccer? Because there's a passion for it, right? The love for the game is immeasurable. They're out in the streets. They're there. They're playing. It's free. They're with their buddies. What else? What are the life lessons that we are teaching? We hear this all the time with the narrative, but it's a very low-spoken narrative in football. Okay. Narrative. Why do you play sports? Give me some examples. Well, I'll give you ability to communicate, ability to be a team player. Okay? We can go on and on about the different examples of why it's important. Your health, work with other people, discipline, right? Commitment, all the different things that we talk about. And that's where the conversation normally stops. Right?
Yeah.
We'll preach that to kids. You'll have a group of players. Guys, listen, we're looking for commitment here. Okay, you're going to learn commitment, you be in this team. Or we need you to communicate. We need you to be a better communicator. Okay, why?
Yeah.
But you got to talk to the goalkeeper's got to talk to you. Got to talk to the goal. Why? What's beyond that? How does it help him in his life?
Yeah.
Are you following me where the road I'm going down here?
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. I think that some of the things too is, so for me, if you're going to preach and obviously if you're going to build a strong culture, let's just say a work ethic, right? And we're going to talk about commitment and discipline and all these things. If these are things that are core values that you want part of your culture, my number one thing is, how do you put that into the culture every single day so the kids identify, oh, this is what it is? Okay. And then you constantly reinforce that every day. But you're even taking this a step farther of, now, why are these things important off the soccer field? And how can we put these in your personal life, in your career, in your schooling, and all these?
Because isn't that the big payback for the kids? Everybody who plays in any sport, right? So it doesn't end when they finish playing sports. It doesn't end at the end of their soccer career. Okay? How does everything translate into the big picture? So I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples of some of the rules that I've set out. Now, this is still a work in progress, but I'll give you an example. So, Marcus, do you ever have in your team, and I'm sure a lot of coaches resonate with a lot of coaches, do you ever at the end of practice when all the cones are all over the field, right?
Yeah.
And you say, guys, pick up the cones. And what do most of the kids do?
There's a certain select few of kids who will gravitate towards picking up the cones every single day while others will not.
Yes. And so my number one rule to every soccer player, pick up the cones.
Yeah.
Why is it? And I'll explain why it's important. Okay. Well, it says a lot about you as a soccer player. If you're the guy who's walking away, and often within a team, they tend to be the older players. The younger players are the ones who will, go pick up the cones because the rookies or freshmen, whatever. It says a lot about you. As a metaphor, when you walk away and say, hey, everybody else is beneath me, right? I'm above that. I'm above picking up cones. You pick the shirts up. You pick the cones up. You do it. Passing that responsibility, okay? It's called servant leadership. It's a great quality to have. To do things for other people and expect nothing back in return, right? And so as a player, what I'm telling you, be that guy. The easy way out is just to walk up the field and take no responsibility. There's going to be a time that you're going to need that responsibility. You're going to need that responsibility in your family relationships, your personal relationships. You're going to need that. You sure as hell going to need that responsibility in your job, right? And if you can transfer that into your career in terms of where you're working at, you'll do that little extra without being asked.
Yeah.
You're going to be so successful. It transfers all the way through to the things. And again, the dad or his mom asks the son to take the garbage out, he doesn't take it out. Or how about being the type of person, they don't have to ask. You take it out every Friday morning. You don't have to ask. You get the shovel out the garage and you shovel the snow off them. You do things for your parents. And then those are the kind of people, Marcus, when you read the internet and you look on news or 6 o'clock news, when you see these people raising funds for communities to do good things, and you see these people helping out in the community, they're the same people who are picking up the cones after practice on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
We need more people like that in the community. We need more people like that in families.
Yeah, and let's be fair, Greener, I've worked in many areas, low income areas where there's 98% of the people are coming from no parent to single parent households. The role of a coach, like you're talking about right there, can make all the difference in guiding a kid's life. And that's the reality, because not everybody has a household that's going to have leadership in it. That's just the truth.
It's just a great quality that everybody recognizes when they see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So simple rule number 1 as a player: be the guy who picks up the cones, not the guy who walks away all the time.
Yeah.
Take that responsibility. Rule number 2: talk to strangers. Okay. All your life, your parents, when you're a little kid, don't talk to strangers. All right, they're bad, they're horrible. You're going to get kidnapped. Yeah. you got to have your radar, and I'm not saying, go down some dark street and start chatting with some guy who's got your little shady there. I'm talking about talk to people. And what I see a lot of times, I see a lot of young athletes, since we're talking about athletes, but this could apply to anybody, okay? Young people in general. They never take the initiative to engage in a conversation, or really.
Yeah.
They'll be happy to sit there quiet, okay? And so why is it important to talk to strangers? Why is it important to talk to people you know? So this is the point I'm getting at. We're teaching a lesson here, but what we're saying, we're explaining about how it fits into the big picture in terms of doing it. Well, you talk to strangers. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet, right? They all know something we don't.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a room or at a place and somebody's standing next to you and you don't make any effort to talk to anybody, okay? That person next to you may be the most fascinating person that you will ever get a chance to meet in your life. The most inspiring person you've ever met in your life. It might be the most loving and caring person you've never met in your life. They might be a game changer in your life, that person.
Yeah.
They can change your life into a different stratosphere. But because you weren't curious enough to talk to that person, you'll never know.
Yeah.
So it's important, and that is important too as you grow older, to be able to interact with community, right? When you're out there in your community, be able to interact with people instead of just being this inanimate object walking around, right?
Yeah. It's going to help you with acceptance and tolerance as well. You start to understand. You get to know people that you only had assumptions about or stereotypes about. The more, Yeah, I get it.
Let's put it in soccer terms. In every team out there, there's a bunch of players who just don't contribute anything verbally, right, to the team, really.
Yeah.
Don't ask. I bet you, if you did a study with your players, how much they really know about each player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How much they talk to them. And what do they know about their backgrounds? What do they know about them? So I think it's very important that if you want to expand as a person, if you want to be a better person, is to have that ability to talk to people and to learn from other different people. And I think it's a good thing that you talk to people who are not in your age group too. I think it's important for younger people to talk to older people and find out what they know. And we talked about this the other day. The key to being young is to hang around young people, right? Is to have a finger on the pulse and learn what they know. So it's for me, it's important, and I'll tell you why. Marcus, one other thing. My pet peeve in relationships is when you meet people and you say, "Hey, how's it going, Marcus? I hear you went to France last week. What was the Louvre like? Did you go to the Louvre? How's the Champs-Élysées? Did you go to the Eiffel Tower? What was the food like?" I'd be so curious because I want to know what you've learned.
Yeah.
So we have this conversation. How's your family doing? How's your mom and dad? How's your son? And then fine, they'll tell you about it, but they'll never ask you. You ever meet those kind of people? They're never in reciprocate. They have no questions to ask you. They're not interested. But once you show an interest in people and reciprocate that, it just changes the type of person you become.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, this whole thing about, when a kid comes to practice, really the coach is in charge of creating that environment and creating an environment where there's no fear of failure. There's no fear of somebody looking down at you because, you tried to dribble and you lost the ball 3 times. Like, everything that you're talking about relates directly into what we do at training as well. I mean,
to your point though, I think what we don't push it far enough. We push it into the soccer realm. We don't push it into the life experience realm.
Correct.
What we're doing in this field, how it is going to impact you in your real life for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's funny, Greener. I remember myself as a player and saying to myself, oh, if I can work this hard and put in this many hours a day, I might not be a pro or whatever because it was getting towards the end, but I can be really successful in my career because nobody is going to outwork me. And that I got. There's two things. I got that directly from soccer, and then I also got from soccer. If I was able to develop and become a pretty good player, I did that pretty much by myself, and that gave me the self belief and self worth that I can learn how to program a computer. I can learn how to do this next thing. And it really was all based off of all those years and hours we spent on that field with that ball. And th- that was a long time ago I made that connection. It was a meaningful for me personally, that was a meaningful connection for me.
I agree 100%. Marcus, very important quality is think before you talk. Right? Think before you talk. Buddhist monks, right? They have a thing called noble silence. But they can go for months, some of them for years, but normally long extended periods of time without talking. They take this extreme vow of noble silence. Right?
Can I send my wife to that?
You better edit that part out, son. You're in trouble. You're in so much trouble.
Oh man.
So it's called noble silence. But the thing is, they do it for a reason. Okay, it's not random. They have noble silence monks in these monasteries because they believe that the more you contemplate thought, right, the more attention you give it and contemplation, the more meaningful and more powerful your words are when you speak because you've contemplated longer. You see the sense behind that?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that it's a good practice and a good rule for many people to think before you talk, because how is that important? So going back again, how does that relate to soccer players? How does that relate to our lives? Okay. Well, soccer players, how many times in your coaching career, if some guy who's on the field, the ref makes a bad call and he just blurts out the stupidest stuff, profanities, whatever, and challenges the referee's decision every single time, the referee, for throw-ins, for corner kicks, or he's yelling at his teammates, he's dropping the F-bomb, his first reaction is to talk and say something negative. You agree with that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of players like that, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, if they took time to think before they reacted, there would be smarter people on the field.
Yeah.
That's how, in an ideal world, we would want our players to react, right? Not to randomly react. I had a player play for me one time, and as soon as he got fouled, he used to scream at the referee, right? Like crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he'd do this all the time. I mean, he'd fall down, he'd start screaming, and I would tell him, look, you're a striker. People are going to kick you. I said, you can't be screaming at the referee and dropping an F-bomb the first time you get kicked. I said, let's come to some agreement. Do you agree that they're going to kick you? He says, yeah. I says, how many times are you going to get kicked in a game? I says, let's make it 10. Okay? So we know it's coming, right? So it's not a surprise. We know you're going to get booted at least 10 times, 5 in the first half, 5 in the... I says, so let's make a deal. Let them kick you 10 times without saying a word. After the 10th time, you can shout as loud as you want, right? Because you're acting like a surprise. They're acting like a surprise. But I'm saying he had no control. He had no filter, no control. So you think before you talk. Again, why is that important in life, though? Yeah. In real life, I mean, look, in relationships, I mean, your words, Marcus, and I mean, you're an educator. Your words are probably one of, if not the most powerful tool you've got.
Yeah.
They can inspire people, right? They create trust in people. They can damage people's hopes, visions, their confidence. Bad words can destroy people.
Yeah.
Right? So you better think, and this is why I'm talking related to the field, but related to life. You better think long and hard about the type of person. Are you going to be the guy who something happens in the house and you're going to turn around and yell and scream and verbally abuse your wife or your kids, you've got to think before you talk. Take time to contemplate. It's not an easy thing sometimes.
No, I mean, right? That's
It is a very, very good asset to have if you can stay calm under pressure and think about your reaction more than just physically react, verbally react straight away.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot about responding compared to reacting, and people definitely do. And I would assume, Greener, you know more about this than me, but meditation could be a good way to start to learn how to respond instead of react.
Meditation is great. I mean, again, my feelings on meditation. I think it should be in every coach's regimen, whether you're in a youth league or a professional club. You should have somebody there that can at least educate them and let players then make the decision whether they want to carry that home.
Yeah.
Because just the sheer fact that at the end of practice we'll cool down our players, or at the end of the game you'll have a cool down. It's how absurd it is for me that you'll cool down the body, but provide them nothing to cool down the mind, to decompress the mind. So that should be part of the tool. So even if you equip them with enough knowledge, they can go back to their room or back to their home and decompress in the right way. So the benefits are huge. I mean, all your top stars are meditating.
Yeah, no, for sure. Listen, with Soccer Coach TV, I know you have almost 240,000 subscribers. Where are you? What are you? It's going to be New Year's today, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking to do with Soccer Coach TV for 2022? Like, what's the plans?
Well, definitely want to go on another tour. The tour last year was above successful. It was phenomenal on so many levels. To get to go to York, Pennsylvania, Amish country there for a week, then to go to Ponce, Puerto Rico, to Tico Lopez. He should run for president, that guy, man. He is absolutely phenomenal. His family, the hospitality, he is phenomenal. Love these players there and him as a coach, his family. And then getting to spend time out in Barbados, out there coaching at the National Training Center. Just a phenomenal experience, and finished off at West Palm Beach. So replicating that is going to be difficult because we had such a blast, me and Nicole. But we were supposed to go to Thailand next month, but with the COVID and Omicron right now, we just don't think it's a good bet. We're not going to have the best experience because everything's not open. So we're hoping to goals right now to go do 3 weeks in England. Well, actually got 3 or 4 days in Scotland coaching, and then do a 2-3 week tour in England. Go back to Wallsend Boys Club where my roots were.
Nice.
I'll be taking them for a session and meeting up with Elvis at Leighton.
United, right?
Yeah, I want to meet up with Leighton and Paul Newsome and a whole bunch of other people. Obviously, my family are all there. So we're going to coach with about 5 or 6 different teams when I'm on tour in England. We'll videotape everything. Heavy into building the new website it's called coachteambuilding.com. That should be up in about 2 months. And then also getting heavy into writing a book. And so I'm never short of projects. And then I'll be coaching my youth team and doing lots of different stuff. And on top of that, I also volunteer about 16, 18 hours a week as a COVID contact tracer for the university.
Hopefully you won't have to do that too much longer.
I'm on the phone 3 or 4 hours a day, talking to people who have got symptoms or testing positive for COVID. So it will be interesting to see how that pans out over the winter.
Yeah, you might be busy the next couple of weeks, but hopefully it goes away.
I think so.
Well, listen, Greater, sounds like a full plate. Sounds awesome for 2022. Is there I appreciate you coming on and sharing your time with everybody today. Is there any last things that you'd like to let anybody know from? Obviously, we have all the viewers from my channel will be watching and so forth here. Anything last parting notes? Happy New Year's to everybody.
Happy New Year. And there's a website I want to check out, soccerclinics.com too. The first website in the world, Marcus.
Yes.
For coaching soccer. Let me give you just 1 second here. And I was just looking. Do you know when the first website in the world actually went online?
Oh, goodness. 89?
It was 1991.
Okay.
Was the first website in the world. 1991.
I don't know. Is Bill Gates?
No, it was some nuclear research company.
Really?
It was, yeah, some nuclear research company. So 1991 was the first legitimate website to be put on the World Wide Web. In 1997, I put on soccerclinics.com.
Mm.
So, no Facebook back then. It was
Right.
before Facebook. It was,
Right.
it was before Amazon. It was before Google. Well, and so there were less than, in 1997, there was approximately only 100,000 websites in the world.
Wow.
In 1997. I was just looking at some stats there before this. 1997, there was approximately 100,000 websites in the world compared to, it's going to be about 1 billion there now today. So going back then when I started soccerclinics.com, it was a long time ago. It's a whole different story there, but it's been around a long time. But if they're looking for a good website, soccerclinics.com is good. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart all our fans, again, from me and Marcus, who support us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and now I'm starting to really.
Yes.
I got my first check from TikTok.
No, you did not.
Yeah, I did.
Really?
Picking up. You know how much it was?
No.
$1.92.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I'm just starting there though, but TikTok, I like TikTok. I think TikTok is going to be so creative. I know maybe on another show we could talk a little bit about the metaverse and a little bit about artificial intelligence. That excites me. I think that's where a lot of it's going to be in the future. You're going to be able to coach players all over the world from your own room in the virtual reality. That's you can do that now. Okay. Did you see the link I sent you? The TikTok link with the girl giving the talk to the people in Japan.
Yes.
Holograms.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
You got to think. This is what we're in now, but where's coaching going to be 20 years from now, 10 years from now?
I think it's going to go faster than you think. I think 5 years from now, it might be somewhere that you're not thinking. Yeah.
People are going to be buying virtual soccer teams in the metaverse. You're going to have openers, and you're going to have tryouts, and you're going to play for these, and you're going to get on the field. You're going to play. You're going to give coaches big time salaries for coaching these teams. Who knows?
Craziness, absolute craziness. So,
Marcus, I'm going to let you go. It's New Year's Eve, brother. Okay, and
thanks so much, Greener.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm so blessed to have you as a friend, and so I'll see you again soon. We'll be doing this for many, many New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we got another 50 in us, Greener. Don't worry.
Get in there, son.
All right.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.